Yes! Saturdays are made for dads. And Dad's car.
Alright, for Cartoon Network 64, we're going to be having a new editor for this series. I know that we're 4 episodes into this marathon, but right now I'm bringing along a new editor. Say hello to Phoenix Star, who, if all goes well, he will be my editor for the entirety of Cartoon Network 64. And let's just say the first thing that he's editing for me is going to be one of my more controversial choices. If there's one thing that I was aware that was going to happen to me during this marathon, it was that I was going to run into shows that a lot of people like that I was not going to be a fan of. However, I wasn't expecting this to happen so soon. Now, I love Dexter's Laboratory. I think it's a good show. Actually, let me correct myself. I used to love this show. I used to think this was a good show. Because, oh boy, this is just a miserable piece of shit. It's one of those shows that almost everything in it is wrong, except for the animation. Yeah, that's like one of the very few positives I can say out of the get-go. The animation and the background music are very good. There is more good, but that's for later. Did you ever list a bunch of qualities that you hate in the real world or even for a show at random, and that you would be pissed off if someone made a show on everything that you hate? Well, that's Dexter's Laboratory, and yet this show came out before I was born. What's the show about? Well, people will tell you that Dexter's Laboratory is about an 8-year-old boy genius named Dexter who has a lab that neither of his parents ever noticed, except for his sister going into the lab saying her catchphrase,
"Ooh, what does this button do?"
and all kinds of funny, wacky hijinks pursue, and that's what people claim. In reality, this show is 2 assholes being assholes to each other and to the world around them, and one of the most annoying characters that I have ever dealt with. So we're gonna start this review talking about Dee Dee. My god, fuck this character. In animation, there's this cliche where this older sister is annoying and abusive to her younger brother. You've seen this pretty much throughout the 2000s, most notable on the Disney Channel live-action sitcoms, but animation has had its fair shares of atrocities. The Buzz on Maggie, The Life and Times of Juniper Lee, The Mighty Bee, and even My Little Pony Friendship is Magic in its pre-Starlight Limit era had Twilight constantly be abusive to Spike. But no show in existence had this problem worse than Dexter's Laboratory. There are 2 major problems to Dee Dee as a whole. One is being annoying, and 2 is being abusive. Let's do the former first, since that is easier to critique. In the first episode of the show, D-Dimensional, has Dee Dee spend a good 25% of the episode with nothing but whining.
I came all the way from the future with this important message, and he started yelling at
And it hurts. Dee Dee has one of those voices in animations that just hurts every time that she speaks. And this episode is a good example of that. If not this one, then the episode Dee Dee's Tale, where she constantly whines on wanting to be a horse. She even gets pissed at her friends Lily and Mimi because Dee Dee was being selfish. Look at her crying right here. Why would anyone want to hear a child cry? It gets annoying as fuck, and many episodes are like this with Dee Dee. Even when she's not crying, her speaking voice gets tedious. Like the episode Dexter's Assistant, where she says everything's smug. Yeah, I get Patrick Star did that once in the SpongeBob episode Patrick Smartpants, but 1, his voice was more tolerable, and 2, he wasn't as big of an asshole. And speaking of assholes, the other big problem with Dee Dee is her malicious intent to ruin everything on Dexter. I get it. A dumb blonde girl messing around with a smart person's inventions does sound like a great idea for a premise. But if you're a critic and have been studying writing and/or animation for years, you learn that a premise doesn't automatically make your show good. Wayside had a great premise, but it's not a show that most people like. And the inverse is also true. What's the premise of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic? A magical talking unicorn is forced to make friends. Sounds like a terrible premise, yet one of the greatest cartoons of all time. What about Little Witch Academia? A teenage girl who fails at everything does Hogwarts. Terrible premise, yet one of the most beloved anime of all time. What about BoJack Horseman? Washed up asshole. Terrible premise. Amazing adult cartoon. The premise in and of itself does not automatically tell you the quality of the show, and Dexter's Laboratory is a great showcase of that. When I sat down to watch this show, I thought that Dee Dee was dumber than a brick. I mean, that's how I remember watching the show when I used to watch this as a child, but the inverse is actually true. Dee Dee is actually smart. It's just that she acts dumb to usually get what she wants. You see many episodes with her being malicious. One of the most notable examples is Sister's Got a Brand New Bag, which has the dance from Dee Dee that you probably have seen in the promos. It involves her annoying the fuck out of Dexter for the whole episode, including going 5 miles below sea level and even into fucking space. And when she finally gets Dexter to listen, she does an evil grin. This is a grin of someone that is self-aware of what they are doing is awful, and she does this in several episodes. The episode Double Trouble, Dee Dee literally says this at the beginning.
Let's play with Dexter!
With that smile, she's fully aware of messing up Dexter's lab. One episode even had her ride Dexter like a sled when he turned himself into rubber and needed help getting back to normal. Also, in the cloning episode, Dee Dee tries to get Dexter squished and killed. In Dim with Dexter, when Dexter becomes dumb because he blew a gasket instead of, I don't know, an experiment gone wrong, Dee Dee takes advantage of Dexter being dumb. This includes forced dress-ups, Dexter becoming in his underwear in public in front of a bunch of kids, and kissing a swan. It sucks that Dee Dee is annoying like this. It makes you wish that Dexter would just punch her. Yeah! Close enough. You want to feel bad for Dexter when Dee Dee fucks Dexter's shit up, except in half of the episodes of Dee Dee being bad, Dexter is no saint either. In fact, at times, I hate him more than Dee Dee, though that's usually due to the fact that Dexter is an idiot. I know what you're thinking. Dexter invented a fucking lab and several inventions. How is he stupider than Dee Dee? Because Dexter lacks common sense, which Dee Dee actually has. She just is more malicious. In one episode, Maternal Combat, Dexter doesn't even know how to dust, so he instead makes a robot mom to do all the chores. He can make a fucking robot out of metal and hot wiring a car, but can't actually dust. You know, one of the easiest things that a human can do. I'm not joking on this. And in the same episode, Dexter doesn't even know what flour is. And I thought that Dee Dee was good in that one, until she actually fed mud with worms to Dexter intentionally, because Dee Dee is an abusive asshole. One thing that I hate in animation is the genius kid blind to common sense. Jimmy Neutron had common sense, and Jimmy Neutron is basically this show done right. I get that Jimmy Neutron was inspired by Dexter's lab more or less, but considering that the writing is the biggest problem with Dexter's laboratory, I find that hard to believe. This is another problem that I have in the Loud House, specifically Lisa. She'll often be all smart and stuff, but then she'll be blind to common sense. Or she'll say something that sounds smart but ends up being wrong.
School day you miss, your brain functionality decreases by approximately 0.0006%.
Which might work as a joke, except the writers aren't self-aware that what Lisa is saying is often wrong. Not that Dexter is a saint either. At times he can become a bigger asshole than Dee Dee. While it's definitely rarer than Dee Dee being an asshole, it still does happen a lot. The episode Babysitter Blues is an example of Dexter being worse than Dee Dee, where Dexter has a crush on his babysitter who's 18. And you know, Dexter is 8 because the babysitter has a boyfriend her age that she loves, but you know, still takes care of Dexter. Dexter decides to sabotage the relationship between his babysitter and her actual boyfriend. And when the two break up, Dexter tries to be with his babysitter. And when she says, if you were only 10 years older, Dexter ages himself up to 18, which scares her. And then the babysitter punches Dexter and then the episode just ends. No one knows of Dexter's evil schemes. His words, not mine.
I'm hatching an evil scheme.
So basically it's like, great, now I hate everyone in this show. And do I even need to bring up the infamous Christmas episode where Dexter ruins Christmas? The writing of this show has 4 major problems. 1 is being the 2 assholes. 2 is the mom being oblivious to everything. Like the episode Changes where the 2 become animals and the mom doesn't notice because she's that blind to her own family. Or the episode The Big Sister where Dee Dee becomes a destructive giantess causing millions of dollars in damages, killing thousands, and is self-aware by the way, has the mom become a giant monster and not noticing.
Bad guy, here comes the cops. No! Uh-oh, bad guy, I think they got you.
You kids clean up this mess right now.
The only funny thing of that episode was the one guy screaming in the apartment when Dee Dee got him out. The third big problem is that the show for over half of the episodes don't have endings. Every time that an episode ends, nothing gets resolved, or they just have plot threads just sit there. I thought that it was originally just gonna be Dexter blows up the house and in the next episode everything is back to normal, but it's more than that. In the clone episode, for example, all the hundreds of clones are still in the end by the end of the episode. Game Over has Dexter trapped in a video game, and he just stays in the game by the end. The Big Cheese, the lab rolls up. Dream Machine. Dexter uses a machine to help end his nightmares, but he gets trapped in a nightmare for a good straight minute, which involves him being naked and being launched at by multiple Dee Dees. The episode just ends then, with Dexter stuck in his own nightmare. I noticed that most of the episodes with no endings seem to come in the 7-minute episodes, which I get. Writing a 7-minute episode is harder to write to a complete story than say an 11-minute episode. But then again, Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry had 7-minute episodes for the most part, and they were able to end each and every one of their stories each time. And those are some of the most popular and beloved shows of all time. The fourth and final problem with the writing of this show is its failure of comedy and direction. It's amazing that this show is a comedy, but 75% of the time the jokes fail for being too predictable, painting the wrong character, not well timed / animated incorrectly, and by being confusing more than funny. Like, there's an episode called The Laughing, which turns Dexter into a clown because a clown bit him. There's an episode called Lava Story, where Dexter finds a dog, and because the dog can't speak, he makes the dog be able to talk. However, when the dog does talk to Dexter's family, they're cool with it. Not even questioning that dog can talk? It makes you wonder if A, the dog can't speak to Dexter's family, or B, they do hear the dog, but they don't care that a dog can talk, even though that this show is more or less supposed to take place in the real world. There's an episode where Dexter goes to Dee Dee's room to retrieve something, and for some reason, it feels like Dexter is on a different large planet with aliens. The worst episode of the show is Shoo Shoo Gnomes. I know that animation often has some kind of track record that each show is made by a pedophile, or that some shows feel like they had pedophile implications, especially in the 2010s, but let's just say that the 1990s had these problems as well, and Dexter definitely has them. The show often shows Dexter naked, several episodes from all 4 seasons having like that. One episode he twerks his ass naked in the shower. Why? But no episode has this uncomfortable notion worse than Shoo Shoo Gnomes. In this episode, when gnomes come in to fix Dexter's shoes because they get ruined, they make a factory of shoes and Dee Dee wants to try them on. So she becomes barefoot to try on the shoes and a bunch of gnomes get sexually attracted to her. This is literally what is implied. And the gnomes all look like older human men. Look at this shit. I talked to some of my friends about this scene. One person saw this as a kid and thought that the gnomes only liked Dee Dee because she had big feet, but now that person told me that they see it for what it really is. You know, a lot of big people worked on Dexter's Laboratory. Craig McCracken, Butch Hartman, Jenny Tartakovsky, Seth MacFarlane, Chris Savino, Rob Renzetti, and many more people. I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Schneider worked on this show.
Dexter, we need those feet!
Why someone thought it would be fun to have grown-ass men be attracted to an 11-year-old girl's feet, I have no idea. And they literally call it saucy bits. This is pedophilia. There is no way around it. Oh, and if you want more proof?
Yay! Boo! Yay!
I'm just gonna be done with this episode before I puke. So, you might have noticed I have been pretty negative throughout this review, and that is because I don't like this show. But I did ask my audience in what ways I can make this marathon good. And one of the ways was to talk about both the good and the bad of each shows, even if I don't like the shows. Admittedly, that's gonna be hard on some certain shows later on this list, but not for Dexter. Because there are 2 characters in this show that I really love. The first one is the dad. Now, the stereotype for fathers in animation is that they are dumbasses that are not funny. I think you can make the argument that Dexter's dad is a dumbass, but I found him to be very funny, like one of the better fathers in animation. If you don't know, many writers took inspiration from Dexter's Laboratory to make their own shows. Though yes, Dexter has aged like milk and now it's spoiled, but that doesn't mean its inspirations are bad, like Jimmy Neutron. I mean, Dexter's Lab is an important cartoon, being the first real show to come out of the cartoons block, though as another site says, first is the worst. But not everything in Dexter I hated. There's something about the dad that makes me laugh. It's more than likely his reactions to everything, or his mannerisms. A part of me thinks that Dexter was originally going to have a single mom, because I don't see the dad in the first World cartoon episode where Dexter and Dee Dee kept transforming into different animals. But I am glad for his addition. He made me want to keep watching Dexter. The best episode of the show is the Muffin King, because of how great the dad is. I mean, look how he acts.
What's this button do? Help! I'm gonna die! I'm being eaten alive!
Run-X the car! I'm gonna bite ya, then I'm gonna chew your delicious morsels.
The Muffin King has finally come. La 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 la.
Oh, and as a bonus, this is one of the very few episodes that Dexter and Dee Dee are on the same page. They both have the same goal and are even working together to do the right thing. That's something that I don't see that much in the show. I think Tom and Jerry worked more together in their original show than Dexter and Dee Dee do in their own show. I'm not saying that the dad automatically being in the show makes it funny. In fact, one of the worst episodes of the show stars the dad in a 30 seconds, or the 50s episode where there is a still image of an ad for 30 seconds. Imagine something like to shoot a ball in golf. You know that infamous Family Guy cutaway gag where Peter stands still for 30 seconds to do a karaoke song, and then does it again for another 30? That, but stretched to 3 minutes, and that being the whole episode. And Dexter and Dee Dee just stand there doing nothing. They blink, at best. Like, even the worst Family Guy cutaway gags, all the dad noises, like, none of them are this annoying and tedious. How would I make this episode better? Well, maybe keep Dee Dee the same, make the whole joke 1/4 of the time, but have Dexter increasingly mad by the end of it. Like, he can start off very happy, and then by the end of it, he's like, just shoot the ball already! Like, he can yell at the dad and make really funny animation expressions. And yeah, that's another problem. In this short, Dexter and Dee Dee just have the standard smile. There's no funny animation expressions. You know, one of the advantages of animation is making funny expressions. I honestly thought that this was a fake episode. I heard about this one going in. I thought it wasn't real. But no, the legends were right. It's a real episode. But the dad is often more good than bad. Like the episode Sister Mom with this.
Give us a kiss.
Ew, gross. I don't want to kiss you.
And there's plenty of more examples. Coupon for Craziness has the dad in a shopping cart. I don't know why that's funny, but it is, which actually is an episode that I liked even without the dad. The other character that I love is Mandark. And honestly, he's a much better version of Dexter in every single way. I don't mean how the show portrays him, I'll just talk about as a character. Like, Mandark actually has common sense, and his mannerisms are better. I played the Dexter's Laboratory video game from the Game Boy Color, and that game is way better than the TV show. But I like Mandark in that game, and the show at least makes him as good as in the video game. And not to mention that Mandark in the actual cartoon has the better sister. Too bad she's only in one episode, Dee Dee's rival, which I don't get why she only got one episode. She was a fun character, and that episode is one of my favorites. Then again, Invader Zim only gave Tak one episode, so I guess the best female characters back then only got one episode. Seriously, just make Dexter's dad become Mandark's dad, and have Mandark be the star of the show, and you got a much better cartoon. I didn't mind Mandark's parents being hippies. Hell, I didn't mind Mandark's original name being changed. Now, the only time I took issue was the one joke of how they reset the name in Season 3, because we knew his name in Season 1. But other than that, or the episode that is nothing more than Mandark laughing for 3 straight minutes, I don't think I found anything bad about Mandark at all. Looking back, I think I understand the reason why people more often than not ask dumb questions like, how did the parents never notice the lab? Or, how did Dexter at the age of 8 or younger build a giant-ass lab without anyone noticing? I mean, one episode it's discovered that Dexter had an older version of the lab when he was like 4, and there was a bunch of abandoned robots apparently. Or more dumb questions like, why is the electric bill not that high? Or, how can the lab that big fit into everything? It's kind of like on the lines of Cat Dog, like, how do Cat Dog go to the bathroom? Because these questions are more interesting than the show in of themselves, or rather are better than the show in of themselves. I mean, I don't get bothered by these things because they're not important to the show, so I don't really need an answer. And they never bothered me. Nah, if there's a question that I do want an answer to, it's why Dexter doesn't tell his parents on the lab. This isn't something like Fairy Odd Parents where they explicitly stated in the first episode that if Timmy revealed his fairies to his parents, then the fairies will go away forever. Even though, yes, the show did forget that rule in its later seasons.
Hi, weird kids with wings. Time to fix the fridge. And by fix it, I mean weld it shut and drag it down the street behind my car.
I mean, it's not like Dexter's lab doesn't come close to that question. The episode with the lab dog kinda almost did that.
How long have you been keeping this lab a secret from me? 'Cause I'm just crazy about Labrador Retrievers. They're such good doggies.
But I, for the life of me, could never figure out the answer. Maybe it's because if Dexter showed that he was great at inventing all of this stuff, the parents would force Dexter to do more shit, or he would be forced to pay for all this, or would be forced to shut down forever. Remember, I watched every single episode for this review, and I, for the life of me, could not figure out an answer. And that's one question that I'm bothered never got an answer. Hell, you'd think with how much of a sadist Dee Dee is, she would blackmail Dexter with the notion that she would tell mom and dad about the lab if she didn't get away. Which, oh, by the way, she did for multiple episodes try to blackmail Dexter in that. I mean, she tells on mom and dad on much smaller things as well. A lot of people like to claim that Dexter's lab went into seasonal rot, and I don't agree with that. I don't think the show went into seasonal rot because in order for a show to go into seasonal rot, your show needs to be good at first. And I honestly don't think Dexter's Lab was ever consistently good. Sure, I liked it as a kid, but I'm talking about now. I just can't find anything good about the show. It had good episodes, sure, but for a majority of the show, like 85% of it, I just couldn't get into the show. Speaking of unpopular opinions, I do also think the later seasons get a little bit of flack. Sure, they're not good either, but I wouldn't call them the worst things in the world. They're just lazy at worst. In fact, I actually do prefer the animation in seasons 3 and 4 more than seasons 1 and 2. Something about the animation in the later seasons, especially the character designs, just look better to me. But if you want my advice on what to watch of this show, season 2, for about like half of it, is the only season really worth watching. All 4 seasons have good episodes, but there are much more bad episodes than good episodes. Season 1 is the worst season of the show for how annoying and cruel it is. Season 2 is the best season for that there is less annoyance and cruelty. Seasons 3 and 4 are in the middle because they're just boring. And no, I don't know if season 3 or 4 is better, they're kind of the same to me. And I hate to say this, and I know I'm going to get some flack for this, but Johnny Test is a better cartoon than Dexter's Laboratory. Why? Well, because the voice acting is more tolerable, the characters are less assholes, but more importantly, Johnny Test knew how to end fucking episodes. Actually, no, they realized that endings weren't optional. If I honestly did a top 10 worst cartoons of the 1990s, I honestly would put Dexter's Laboratory on that list. It's not as bad as Stressed Eric or even The Wacky World of Tex Avery or any of the 90s Gross Out shows, but other than that, I can't think of any 90s cartoon worse than this one. I honestly thought that this show was going to be fun. I thought it would have been a cult classic that I say I wouldn't get the hate for this show. But no, Not only is this show bad, but it's even worse than I remember. I do want to give some credit to Candy Milo, the new voice of Dexter, for replacing Christine Cavanaugh, because damn, her voice impression is exactly like the original Dexter. You honestly can't hear the difference. Like, if you told me that Dexter's voice was the same the whole way through by the same person, I would honestly believe you.
Do you not know that there are fortunes inside those cookies? They're 100-foot-tall terror to mankind, made entirely of cheese. It is Gorgonzilla!
Oh, and that reminds me, there's a fan episode from this show. Like, I'm not talking slice of life from My Little Pony. I'm talking about an actual fan of Dexter's Laboratory writing an actual episode. It's called Dexter and Computers Get Mandark, and I found it to be one of the better episodes of the show. Like I said, some shows like Friendship is Magic reference fan culture, or they bring some kid on that could die soon, like the MLP episode Top Ball with Angel Wings. But here, a 6.5-year-old kid wrote an episode, and it's one of my favorites.
You are stupid. I didn't want a lot of Mandark said, and that's why you are stupid. You are stupid. And don't forget.
Sorry if I didn't have enough time to talk about Dial M for Monkey or The Justice Friends. I did watch them, but I wouldn't know what to say. It feels like a completely different show entirely. Maybe I'll talk about that in the future, or give Dexter its own animation review to talk about certain episodes. Not sure. This Cartoon Network 64 episode is very long. In fact, this is why the max limit became 25 minutes instead of 15. I was originally gonna have every CN64 episode be anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, but now I had to make it 5 to 25 minutes long because of Dexter's Laboratory. The movie was meh, but the band episode Rue Removal was hilarious.
Where the fuck are we? Beats the crap out of me!
Oh, and to end this Cartoon Network 64 episode off, here's a clip of a monkey sexually in love with a duck. Yes, this was a real episode.